Welcome, welcome. I am Dina, and this is Discussions with Dina. I want to thank you for joining me. If you have not already, I ask that you share and subscribe, and feel free to comment on any of the topics that I am speaking on. Now, I wanted to speak on something that means a lot to me. There is something to be said today about the number of crimes that are being seen all over the media and all over, every aspect of our lives today. There are so many young children in this country that are missing, that are being abused. And sometimes we ignore this. Now, in any country, the greatest resource is supposed to be the mind and the body of the child. It seems that some of us have taken it upon ourselves not to take care of the next generation of people to come after us. So some of us seem to have lost the ability to protect the lives of the young people and prepare them to take over where we leave off at. So it is supposed to be, when you are producing the next generation, that our job should be to educate, protect, and cultivate them. Hi, Nikki, how are you? But today there seems to be a problem with the wellness of our children and in this society. So no matter what country or what group of people you may be a part of, it is a part of the grand design that we call the circle of life to protect and prepare the next generation. But I'm finding today that it is an overly abundant lack of people who have or seek to protect young children's minds and bodies. Are you really shocked, Nikki? There's a overabundance of Black women that are missing, Black women and children today. And it's something that seems to be a little cliche. People say it, but they don't really work to try to find out where these people are, what happened. It seems to be unimportant because of the color of the skin, basically. But there are some men and women out here today in this society that I believe seek to manipulate and contaminate and confuse the next generation of human beings. And I don't just mean physically, it is also a mental thing. There are people who seek to use their innocence. The beauty of children is their innocence. And there are people, I feel, that are out here trying to seek to control that for their own disgusting sexual gratification. And I've said all that to lead to the topic of discussion, which is about the movie that is called Cuties. And in case you didn't know, it is a movie that is being advertised on Netflix. And the promotional advertisement shows actual young girls, ages 11, 12, and 13. And they are they're dancing sexually. I think it's sexually provocative, and it's too much. As my daughter would say, they're doing too much. They are dancing the way you would expect to see strippers or adult entertainment or even pole dancers. And from what I've read, it's said to be a French film that speaks to the sex slave industry and it was written by someone, and I'm not going to pronounce her name right. I think her name was Memona Decore. It is her feature. It's a directional debut, and the storyline is about an 11-year-old black girl. She is a very young little girl, and they are doing these sexually erotic dances, and the group, of course, is called Cuties, in which they perform. It's a preteen group, as I've said before, and they specialize in twerking and just over sexualized dance moves for me. Now, we know that it's in fact adults who are pushing this movie, and many of whom which are trying to label this movie a coming of age movie, whatever that's supposed to mean. But who created that crafty explanation anyway? It is being promoted as if it's just a girl rebelling against her family's tradition and being fascinated with a free spirited dance crew. Um, which today I guess that's code word for something being raunchy, free spirit. It is said to be a thoughtful look at the intricacies of girlhood in the modern age. One about a child who is rapidly growing aware of her burgeoning femininity as she becomes engulfed in the sexualization of children industry. And that is exactly what it is. And I feel like this is just promoting the sexualizing of children. I think what it does, it tries to make it acceptable. I think it's like planting a seed. When you put it in the ground, you may not see it come up for a while, but it's still working. So if you plant that seed in the minds of people over time, they'll see it growing and sprouting, and it'll just become normal because you don't see things growing or when they're in the planning process sometime until after it's up and evident. But this movie have a lot of people up in arms, and rightly so, because this is nothing more than a test for civilized people and parents. It is an introduction in a way to prepare you for what you can expect in films and even more in society in general. Because no parent can honestly look at this movie and not see how this can and does open the door for pedophilia, and may even be an attempt to make pedophilia acceptable. Now, I could not help but wonder by looking at some of the advertisement. No, I didn't watch the movie, and I have no intentions of watching it, but just from looking at some of the promotions and ads, I kept wondering to myself, who are these people targeting? What is the target audience? Because every time there is a movie, they have a group of people that they are targeting. They want to get in there. And I say, when I saw these ads, it was clear to me that this was something that would be enticing to an what I call mentally ill adult with an appetite for children. And it should not be something that we ever find acceptable, I think, in this society. Now, I think that making it more acceptable and creating an environment of acceptance is really at the root of this whole movie. Many times we think it is simply a movie that goes too far. But I think, in fact, this is just an introduction, as I've said before. And over time, it just becomes acceptable. And I think the intent is to make this normal. And that's usually how propaganda works. Now, it's introduced on this small scale. They're trying to test it out to see if your palate will accept it. So I agree with those that are criticizing and speaking out against this movies. these kind of movies and that particular movie, because for a moment I thought it was falling on deaf ears, but I've seen the rallying cry get louder. And one thing worth noting about this film, which I particularly found very intriguing, that the main character is a little black girl. And even the actress that is playing in this role, she's still a little girl. She's not an adult. Usually they can find adults that look like children to play in roles, but in this case, these are actually little girls. I heard someone say there was a scene where one of the little girls were trying to take a picture of her vagina to share with on a phone. And that's just too much, as my daughter would say. They're just doing too much. So, like I said, there is a little black girl that is the actress. Yes, they're using real children. So I think she's about 12, the main character. In real life, she's actually 12. So when you see the winding and grinding and sexually suggestive dance, this is actually an underage child you are observing. Now, I have personally, as I've said before, never actually watched the movie itself. And I don't encourage anybody else to watch it, not adults in their right mind, because the clips are vulgar enough. Now, I've read some articles in which others have either seen it, and I've read some of the other um, opinions on this particular movie. And people have decided one way or another about this movie, but mostly I think people in their right minds are saying this is a disturbing movie. And some of them have made their opinion known about this movie. Now, to give you just a little background about this movie, the film premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, where a lot of unorthodox, questionable movies are approved and reproduced for your and my consumption these days. But I found the sexuality and the sexually suggestive clips of these young girls or babies disturbing. These are not even teenagers. And that's why people should have a problem with it. It's disgusting, it's distasteful, and it's repulsive to see little children put on display like that. And I am convinced this is an attempt to further sexualize children, and mainly, shall I say, black children. And I believe, as I've said before, if nobody speaks out about it, it's an introduction to the world of pedophilia, acceptance. Now, it's ironic that they casted a black child because we know through history how black children, especially black females, are sometimes portrayed and seen to, some people look at them as if they're not children. When you see black girls dancing or behaving, they tend to not give her the benefit of the doubt or give her the same protection that non-black people would get in many instances, if you know where I'm coming from. So to see little children doing things like sucking their fingers and feeling on their crotches while they're dancing and humping, this further dehumanize females. We make them like pieces of meat. And especially our black children and black females is one of my main focus, but children in general. Now, we know that the effects of sexual abuse is very high these days with among our children. And we have hundreds, like I said, of Black females that are already missing. They're missing. And we have racial biases in this society because nobody seems to be on the case as to where these females are. Where are our sisters? Where are they? Are there any clues? Nobody is saying anything. And then when you hear stuff in the media, you don't get all the details because I'm in Georgia and I heard that they peace, Nicole. How are you, Nicole Ali? But in Georgia, they said they found 39 children in the back of a truck, but it was funny they didn't go into details about it. And I wanted to know more about who they were. I don't need their names because I know they want to protect their identity, but I felt like we were kind of left out of the loop. We didn't get as many details as we should have. So it concerned me. And I am still concerned about the whereabouts of all these Black females and children that are missing today. It bothers me. And these are mere babies that we are looking at. And I saw some of the clips, and it was quite disappointing. Now, we know in our history as Black females, it goes back to slavery. And yes, even though we don't like to talk about it, our oppressors had their way with Black females. So people tend to, I guess they don't regard us in the same manner as they do others, as I've said before. It's a taboo subject, but it's still true. There was nothing. Wow. But nobody cared or could do anything to stop some of the abuse that we, and I'm talking about Black girls and Black people, Black women, faced for many years. And I don't want us to become comfortable with accepting this kind of behavior. Yes, Nikki, it should have been a big story. It was kind of just washed over. I even saw where they said they discovered they rescued another 9 like a week ago. But it's like, where are the rest of the details? I want to know where you found them at. How did you find them? We need more information. It's like it's just too many things that are not connecting here. And it makes you start doing the conspiracy theory thing, saying this is bigger than what we know or people want to admit. But this is serious to me. So society today can destroy the self-worth of of women, of Black women, if we allow it. But we have control of it. That's my thing. We need to do more as a group, even as individuals, as mothers and sons, and sisters and aunties, because it affects us. These are people that we love, or any human being that has children or have people that they love missing. Can you imagine how devastating that must be to not know where they are or what happened to them? That's something that just bogs my mind. But anyway, I feel like we have to teach children and guide children. We need to be protecting children. It just bothers me that a human being, adult, would look at a child and see or think sex. That's so gross to me. It's so unreal. But there's no questioning that there is a need for our Black youth to be protected from sexual abuse, or even the thought or having somebody having access to them. Because even when you take your children to events or whatever, you can't just drop them off anymore. You need to investigate whom you are dropping them off with and do some background stuff. Now, don't just leave your babies. We have a tendency to drop them and leave. We got to stop that because these people are really, really sick today. Now, like I said, I think not valuing ours is one of the main reasons why they go missing. We don't have a group of people that want to go chase them that we can dedicate to finding our lost people, because we gotta protect these babies. Our goal should be just protecting children, let them be innocent. Now, I'm not a fan of any film that would sexually exploit children, and especially, like I said, black children. But it is my intent to give people the benefit of the doubt, except in any cases where it pertains to children, I am biased. The reason being, like I said before, our babies should be sacred to us. They should be protected and properly guided. And it should be our duties as adults, to let them just be children, to learn and grow. We don't know what we do, how we disrupt these children mentally when they are abused. And so I see a lot of stuff that's going on in our society, and I always wonder, is it because somebody has touched them or abused them in the past? I can't help but wonder. That means we got to start holding these adults that we find guilty of this accountable. And I am strict with that. I think the only solution, I don't think you can rehabilitate somebody that has a desire to have sex with a child. I just don't think they can be rehabilitated. I don't think no manner of counsel can help them. I don't. That is my personal opinion. But because I just can't imagine, again, any adult looking at a child saying, "Ooh, I want to get with her," a baby. And I saw a 9-month-old baby. Oh my God. It just broke my heart when I read that article saying that it was her dad, a 9-month-old baby, was raped and murdered by her own father. That stuff just hurts my heart. It is disturbing. And it's a sick society indeed. And to take their innocence. I'm going to tell you a story that helps. That's right, Nikki. One thing that affected me as a child. Now, I am 12, maybe 13. Well, actually younger. And my mom, I come from a family, I'm in the South. You can tell that from my voice, my talk, my speech. But my mother, we would always go to the store. I don't know if you had that kind of. Yes, they are atrocious, Nikki. Yes, they are. But I would be walking to the store, and I would go to the store. My husband and I always call ourselves, I was the store girl, and he was the store boy when he was little. So they send you to the store like 5-10 times a day, wouldn't be abnormal. But anyway, I would walk to the store 10, 11, 12, and these grown men would pull up next to me. They would be grown adults, and they would be trying to seduce me like they should be doing an adult. And it just grossed me out. And that's why even today, when I hear about that, it makes my stomach get wheezy. But yes. And I said, if I experienced that and it had an effect on me, I know people can choose who they want to be with in relationships, but it made me feel like I couldn't trust the men that were in those positions as adults in my life and around me, because I couldn't help but think, I'm a little girl. Why are these grown men stopping, trying to talk to me as if I am an adult? And I remember that. And it had an effect on me. And I don't like to see, and that's, like I said, this is my personal opinion, these old men with young girls. It's still gross to me. But anyway, I said it's not normal to look at any infant or child in a sexual manner, and it's disturbing. And I said again, I think the solution should be head separation from body. I think that's the only solution. See, Nicole, it's the same for me. Our mailman tried that mess. My dad threatened him with an axe, never came back. And see, that's what we need, parents to be there. And I know they can't be everywhere with us, but they need to know if you do this stuff, you are going to be held accountable. And they'll stop this stuff because it's ridiculous today. I remember that, and it had an effect on me too, Nicole. But we have to find a way to protect our children, to make them feel comfortable letting us know this stuff. Not that they'll be punished or because I'll hear, as black people will say, well, you were being grown. We'll tell our little girls that as if that's an excuse for an adult approaching you in that manner. And we got to stop with those kind of excuses. It's like we give them a way out instead of just holding their behinds accountable. Nikki said, shout out to your dad, Nicole. That's what we need, dads. Men, step up and let them know these kind of perverts, it's not going to be tolerated. Now, one thing that I have learned recently is that Netflix was indicted by Texas grand jury for lewd depiction of children in that controversial film. Now, there was an article that was on RDA, and it says that they're facing criminal prosecution over this film and that the grand jury indicted them. I don't know how this will end or what will exactly come from this, but I want the film pulled. Now, this indictment was filed on September 23rd in Tyler County, but it was shared on Twitter. The Republican state representative, that's right, indict all of them. The representative, Matt Schaefer, it accuses Netflix of knowingly promoting visual material that depicts lewd exhibition of the genitals or pubic area of a clothed or partially clothed child who was under 18 when the content was created. And the prosecution alleges that the material appeals to the prurient interest in sex and has no serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. It should be removed. Now, Congresswoman, I think her name is Tulsi Gabbard. She's in Hawaii. She's a Democrat. She called the film child porn. And she said that it would whet the appetite of pedophiles and fuel the child sex trafficking trade. And I certainly agree with Congresswoman Gabbard. And I want to thank her for standing up because it seemed like it fell on deaf ears for a while. There were people, like I said, that were talking about it, but I expected a bigger response. And I am so glad that she called this out. Now, Netflix likely expected some public backlash over the movie, and I promote and encourage boycotting it because they should have took that film away when they seen that people were dissatisfied with putting children on display like that. But it is said that the boycott campaign actually had people to cancel subscriptions, and it wiped out about $8 billion of the firm's market value as a publicly traded company in just 2 days. Now, there were some people, surprisingly, that had different reactions to this film. And we had people that would say stuff like it was provocative and it was extraordinary. But I like the ones from the people that I read on Twitter that said and suggested that Netflix assets should have been seized as a penalty. Some of it. They need some kind of punishment to know, don't do this. This is not acceptable, because people um, said that from the beginning, but they didn't seem to listen to parents. So some of it, executives should be indicted, and some are suggesting that they're just, some should be sent to prison. Monique, oh, you did, Nikki. But we have some reviews praising the film. For instance, there was this person on the Telegraph that said, gave a review of it and said that it is a provocative powder keg for an age terrified of child sexuality. Then one supporter of Cuties called the controversy the latest in a line of recent anti-pedophilia campaigns that have stemmed from the corners of the internet where extreme conspiracy theories. There is no conspiracy theories. It's right in our faces. Then the New Yorker had a review that called it an extraordinary Netflix debut that became the target of a right-wing campaign. This is not a right-wing campaign. These are parents and people with just plain out common sense. Now, there's a magazine called article called The Decider, or a organization media, and they said it was that the person that wrote the film was a filmmaker. As I said before, she was French Senegalese person, which is, they're trying to say she was black. And sometimes we will likely accept stuff because we want to help our people succeed. But in this case, and I'm not pronouncing her name right, I'm sure, Maya Mona Doncourt, they said she illustrates very clearly that the four girls who enter a dance contest together are far too young to be wearing skimpy outfits and performing suggestive dance moves. That's kind of the whole thesis of the movie, is what she said. But that girls who barely understand the concept of sex are pressured by society to present themselves as sexy. And that's very much a bad thing. But my thought is, how can you claim to bring attention to this problem of sexualizing our children or sexual exploitation of children when you are engaging in the very thing that you purport to condemn? What say, Nikki? That conspiracy theory BS gets on my nerve. It's a whole strategic plan designed to attract those who are abusing children. And I certainly agree with you. But I just felt like it needed to be known. I hope that this show completely disappear from the airwave. We have so many people that deal with this. I don't understand how it would be, how Netflix would think this would be okay in this age. Yes, the main character is supposed to be from a Muslim family, and they're trying to make it seem like she's just a rebellious preteen. That's how it's being represented, but I just found it disgusting, and I think we needed to speak out. And like I said, Black people in particular, because oftentimes we'll dismiss our children. Oh, she just grown. Yeah, encouraging children to defy their parents so the system can have greater access. She's 11. The lead was 11, Nikki. Is that what you're saying? And when I see these poor babies, when they said a 9-month old, I think you posted that, Nikki, also. I just couldn't believe that someone could be so low and degenerate to touch an innocent child. And we have to speak up on this stuff. And I'm encouraging people, speak out about it. Let's not make pedophilia acceptable. We have to guard our children's minds and their bodies. I mean, what kind of generation can we, I mean, if these people, these children that are being born today are subjected to this and nobody does or say anything, can you imagine what kind of people we will have running things? What kind of mental problems we can expect from them? Because even today, there are so many people that are confused. I agree with that, Nikki. There are so many confused people about what and who they are. And I keep wondering, how did they get that way? And I know that at some point it happened and we saw it happening, but nobody said anything. And so if we can speak up and protect these babies, we can change some things. But I still want to know what is being done about all of these missing Black women and babies and girls. And it's like every day there's another poster. This little girl is missing. This lady is missing. Where are these people? But that's just my 2 cents on the matter. I don't know how this will all end. I don't even know if they're still trying to play this on Netflix, because I'm certainly not watching it. But I just wanted to express that because it was really something that was on my soul. And I was so glad to see they're being indicted, but we'll have to see what comes from that. And then Netflix, oh my God. And I was watching a lot of other movies, which, Nicole, I can't wait for you to continue your conversation about, was it Lovecraft? You made it very interesting to me. I haven't watched it yet because, like I said, I'll have to watch that with my husband. Because you was talking about the pillow. I'm going to have him as my pillow. But anyways, I want to thank you for listening. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this because it matters to me. And I hope it matters to everybody else that has babies or children or women in your life. And I want to thank you for listening. You can like, share, subscribe, and comment, and let me know your thoughts on Cuties. You scared, Nick? Look, I wish it was a way we could watch it live together. That way we can be scared together. Because I'm going to get into it too. Okay, so you are up to number 5, episode 5. Oh, I can't. Okay, what time are you going to go on, Nicole? Okay, I am going to definitely tune in, Nicole, and I want to thank you for listening, and I will see you next time on Discussions with Dina. Peace.